One, two, three, four. Don't ask about philosophy. We could not give a damn. If you're afraid of the dark, my friend, do not try to hold our hands. We can't tell you which side the corn gonna sit or fall. If you don't like just what we're saying, you're hogging lick our ball. Oh, poison in the well. Oh, well, heathens bound for hell. Oh, poison in the well. Oh, pick my balls, we don't kill. This way of life you think we lead, we stumble and we fall. Demons deep inside our minds, it's easy to heed the call. Fractured pieces of our lives, we're filled with what we see. You can't get what you need from battle, fame, what's to be will be. Oh, we're poison in the well. Oh, two heathens bound for hell. Oh, poison in the well. Oh, yeah. Stick these nuts, we won't tell. If you're not content with what you have, you know it's your own fault. Buying into the no-man game, you're a bitch and a fucking call. Sleeping in the bed you made, love the way you scratch. That oppressive fear of what you breed, you're another for the batch. Oh, poison in the well. Oh, two heathens bound for hell. Oh, poison in the well. Oh, yeah. Lick these nuts, motherfucker, I will kill. Kick it.
I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news. Fake news. I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that I deal with the fake news. Fake news. I think it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace, but I don't think they care. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I'm here today is to tell you the whole Russian thing, that's a ruse. It's a ruse. I own nothing in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia. Russia is fake news. I just see many, many untruthful things. The press has become so dishonest. The public doesn't believe you people anymore. You have a lower approval rate than Congress. I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news. Fake news. I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that I deal with the fake news. Fake news. I think it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace, but I don't think they care. I'll tell you something, I don't mind bad stories. I can handle a bad story better than anybody as long as it's true. But I'm not okay when it is fake. It's all fake news. I mean, it's story after story after story. We're not going to let it happen again. The public gets it. When I go to rallies, they want to throw their placards to CNN. Here's the thing. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. It's so important to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press, but our nation's reporters will not tell you the truth. So I'll go over just some of them. MSNBC, you are fake news. The New York Times, you are fake news.
CBS, NBC, ABC,
BBC, LA Times.
You are fake news.
The Washington Post.
You are fake news.
CNN,
Very fake news.
Politico, AP,
HuffPo, BuzzFeed.
Failing pile of garbage. And I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news.
fake news.
I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that deal with the fake news,
Fake news.
I think it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace, but I don't think they care.
Hey, Brett, had to do the theme song, man.
Good evening.
To show off a little bit with the Poisoning the Well tune. You know, I did RPR did the lyrics on that. I did the first one kind of on a whim.
I haven't heard it yet. I have actually quite literally just sat down in front of my PC and I saw you were on, so I thought I would say hi, and then you sent me the link. So this is really the first occasion that I've actually even got to talk to you.
Cheers, man. It's good to have you here. I just realized I don't know if I'm echoing, but I probably got to put on my other hat.
You're not echoing.
Oh, good.
No,
maybe I can just
quite clear.
Maybe I can just roll this way for a minute. It seems like I don't want to just say that you and I have good equipment, but I think that a lot of it has to do with your your Rode mic, and with this, because it cancels out. And then if you get other people on, I don't know, man, sometimes somebody will pop on and it's just Echo City. And I do have to put on the headphones, but I don't like them suckers, man. I'm not used to them. And I
think it can be quite temperamental. Sometimes it can just echo and sometimes you can just get away with it. I don't quite know what causes it. So, yeah, at the moment we seem to be fine.
I think it's feedback. But
how are we doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I got my hands on something I can't really talk about. And what it's doing right now is it's ruining my life because I don't have it in audiobook form. So the only way I can journey into this ancient land and be a part of this adventure is to actually sit down like a caveman and read words.
It sounds extremely arduous, and of course I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, we won't get into it. I'm not trying to prod anybody. I'm just saying that I've fallen into this world that a friend of mine created, and man, I find myself not liking to tear myself away from that world. And you know what? It's something that literature, I believe, you know, written word, books, movable press, Gutenberg, you know, there's a lot to be said. A movie can take you away for an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? They can take you away, but nothing can take me away like reading somebody's, reading a story. That's what does it for me. It really does.
Well, unlike a movie, a book is a two-way street. So basically, you get the information from the book, but you have to do some work yourself. So basically, the imagination is yours. It is fired by the book, but you, in a way, create the pictures within your mind, so to speak. Whereas if you watch the movie, you get the whole thing pre-digested. You don't really need to do any work. You sit there and it kind of rolls over you, and then 1.5 hours later, it's over. Whereas with a book, that's why the book gives you a much deeper experience, because you actually have to process it yourself, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, and you're the soundtrack. You know, you're everything. You paint the buildings, but there's a fine line that I like two authors very much, Stephen King and Dean Koontz. But there's a big difference between the two. Both are prolific writers. Both have written many, many, many books, both in their genre pretty much. But Stephen King has a way of doing what the author of the book I'm reading now has a way of doing. He's using flowery words, this author that I've found. I mean, I wish I could tell people. I just can't, folks, and don't pester me. I can't fucking do it. The book may be released. It may not be released. It would be uncool of me to say more than what I am now. But this author has a way of just painting enough of the picture to where you're there. This is what Stephen King does, where you're there, but he's not patronizing you by telling you not only the color of the wall, but the texture of the wall and how the light hit the fucking wall and the wall is this and it's tall and everything else. He just tells you there's a wall there. And I love that, because when you leave those intentional blanks, when one leaves those, it allows your imagination to go, and that's what that's what I love about stories.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know from your obsession with Moby Dick that you definitely like your stories, and you also like your language, don't you? I think the one of the things that really fascinates you about Moby Dick is the use of language in that book.
Oh, absolutely.
There is something that is almost biblical about the language in that particular book.
Very biblical. But the same thing. I know it was translated from French into English, but the same thing with Dumas. You know, when you read The Three Musketeers or Count of Monte Cristo, I mean, it's the language, the etiquette of the time. I mean, I long for the days to return, Britisher, where there is universal respect. And yes, I would be one that would have to work on that universal respect. I think everyone, yourself included, would. But I long for those days where you treated people with respect. You didn't use foul or coarse language. You didn't accuse people of things. And that's what that harkens back to in my mind is just the good old days when your word was your bond and you might not even give somebody your name.
Well, I think one of the things that happened in that regard is that the world has kind of become more casual. It has become less formal. And in that regard, that is a good thing. But it has also dispensed with, as you would say, some of the kind of social rules that perhaps also acted as a bit of a glue and held things together. So that at one moment, yes, everything has become more casual. You know, you don't see people walking around in pinstripe suits and bowler hats anymore to the extent you did once upon a time. But at the same time, the manners have also kind of disappeared. So basically, that side of things we today look back and we quite admire. But at the same time, we reject the stuffiness of those days. So I mean, no one today really wants to go back to the 1950s, except for a very small few. But at the same time, I think quite a few people, even within the younger generations, hanker for some of the sort of manners of those days.
Well, how about 1850s would be more like it for me.
You want to go the whole way, do you?
Well, because listen, Britisher, I've known you now for 8-9 months. I have never heard you use the F word. You have typed it to me in personal DMs to make a point. But to this day, and I'll be honest with you, man, one of the reasons I enjoy your friendship and enjoy your company is because, and I hope I give you something like this, maybe not, I don't know, but you give me something to shoot for. You remind me that a person doesn't have to use all of these superfluous words, these extra words that really don't do anything but show, with all respect to all of us foul-mouthed people, myself included, but it doesn't do anything to show your intelligence, does it, sir?
Well, to my view, you know, in my view, swear words have got a perfectly good place. So basically, you can imagine that if I'm trying to bang in a nail and I miss and my thumb takes the blow, I too will utter a swear word.
Don't you say it. Don't you make me a liar now.
But that's just it. It basically, if you're using it all the time, it loses its power. In that regard, it follows exactly the same rule as the boy that cried wolf. That basically, if you basically keep effing and blinding, then the one moment when you really want to do it, it's fairly meaningless. Because then it's become a kind of, it's through everyday use, its meaning has been worn down. And that's why in that regard, those people who never swear, when they do swear, people will then actually take much greater note of them.
Oh yeah, if we were talking privately and you were like, "Listen here, you motherfucker," I would be listening. I would be listening very carefully because I would understand at that point that there was something that was going on that.
I mean, in that regard, there is also this other rule. I think you will more than likely have also come across people like this, because I have in my time, and that is that the truly dangerous people, or the people you really need to take note of, when they get really angry, they are the people who don't get louder. They get more quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, those are usually the dangerous ones. Yeah.
Precisely. Those are exactly the ones. And so in that regard, it's it kind of shows that a lot of bluster doesn't necessarily carry the meaning you want it to carry. In fact, those people who may not say anything at all or say very little and say it very, very quietly, those people are actually the people you really are afraid of.
Yeah, well, that's the truth, man. That is the truth. The only time I've ever really had a good ass kicking, man, like not just like been bested, but had ass kicking, it was by, oh man, I remember it was in Orlando, Florida. It was by a little dude that was kind of effeminate. And boy, I picked on him until he had to give her to me. And I learned a good lesson. I mean, it was years ago. I was very young. A place called George's Hideaway and on Edgewater Drive and Lee Road in Orlando, Florida. I'm sure it's still there. And it's a little Saturday night knife and gun club. And I guess in my mind, I couldn't understand why this quiet gentleman was sitting there enjoying his mojito. If I remember, he was drinking a mint mojito. And so that's what I started. No, I know that's what he was drinking. I started picking on him. Oh, what are you a punk? And no, just like you said, he got quieter and quieter. And finally he was like, listen, I don't want no trouble with you. And I said something effective. Well, you got trouble. And that's one of the last things I remember before I woke up with a black eye and a busted lip.
Should I ever get to speak to Lionel from Lionel Nation, who I believe is from Florida, I will have to ask him whether he drinks mint mojitos.
And I'm trying right now, Britt, but I don't know. I have to look. I don't think maybe he's from Florida. If he is, he's definitely, I just was tripping because the guy is a chameleon with his accent. He can go from sounding like a New Yorker to doing, I wish I could do that. He'll start doing hand farts in time and like singing. I know you've seen him do it and start singing a song that he's making up with right off the top. And he does this hillbilly thing, man. The guy, but is he from? Do you know he's from?
I think he several times in broadcasts of his, he's mentioned that he's originally from Florida. That's when he grew up.
Okay, I knew that he lived there and that he was a prosecutor there. He makes, what I love about that guy, man, because I want to as long as I have you here, it's Monday, Britt, the whole healthcare debauch over here, man. Now, there's always so much politics, but we always talk about politics on this channel. I tried to get Fun Dip on, and Fun Dip was like, well, I looked at your videos and I enjoyed them, but it seems like it would be stressful like Fridays were. And he used to work with Steven Crowder. And hell, I probably shouldn't even have said the names together because I told him, I was like, hey, listen, Bassman Dan, I won't even, I don't even want to talk about that kind of thing. I just want to talk about Detroit. He loves Detroit and he's showing the nice side of Detroit and that it is still there. But apparently, after watching some of the videos that, well, now I'm going to give you credit that we do. I guess it was too political for him. But I'm a little bummed about that, Brett. We're going to, unless Sevy Rose cancels, I'm going to come on later tonight. It will not be long. But I want to have Sevy Rose on. And maybe at the end of the show, I'll say exactly why. But I'm not going to right now. Oh, you got me a link here, Brett.
Yeah, thank you a link.
So there you go. I mean, I just want to talk about anything about politics.
It's kind of, you can kind of say it's partly political, but it's. I think once you see it, you will kind of see that there is a light-hearted side to it.
Let me pop this up where we can all see it. Now this is fine. I mean, now if it's our politics, Britisher, let me make a little disclaimer on the politic thing because I don't know. I tried to get Zero Cool to pop by, but and he did say in the chat, so I'm just going to say this. Listen, if you like Zero Cool, you like his rant, you like who he is, just take a moment and consider that Mama Cool. And I don't want to say much more. Just think about Mama Cool and send her some good vibes her way. But hey, as long as we're talking about our politics, no, because I was going to mention my two heroes outside of yourself, So Fade and Fat Pat, and the stellar job they did at delivering to the people that funded their visit to VidCon. They had video after video after video there where they were, they're there and they were tired. And one, it was 3 o'clock in the morning and they still did their little update and give you the thing. And so, no, these politics are good. Let me pop it back up since I ran you over. And let's talk about this, man, because this is some politics that I want to get into.
Well, of course, I mean, what you have here is the article is by the Sarkeesian herself. And as we can see there, you know, on VidCon, harassment and garbage humans. And it is basically a kind of, a rather long kind of rant at why Sargon is to blame for everything.
Oh, she's doubling down.
Oh, yes, very much so. Yes. The fact that, you know, he has harassed her for so long that when he turned up at that particular event with an entourage, as she put it, filling the entire front two rows. And I thought, no, actually, I think you will find it was the front 3 rows.
I see Bunty there. And I know that actually someone that we used to work with, Based Mama, was there in the rows with them.
Yes,
there was
she
a bunch.
was.
There was a bunch of
if you look just the front row right next to Sargon, there you've got the Warskis, and then you've got Chris Raygun.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were basically.
And that looks like there. Dave Cullum. I can just see Dave Cullum's
yes, I think you're right. I think that might be Dave Cullen. Yes.
Oh.
And basically, their sitting there was basically just bringing back the trauma of all the harassment that Sargon had basically bestowed on her already.
Oh man, I'm bursting, Britisher. This monstrous human being who is using her platform that does dwarf Mr. Sargon's. It does. He's not a big fry compared to this human being. And right here it is. Carl's a man who literally profits from harassing me and other women. He makes over $5,000 a month on Patreon for creating YouTube videos that mock, insult, and discredit myself and other women. Britisher.
So as I think we can see who is the center of Anita Sarkeesian's universe.
Sargon. He's obviously gotten into her head.
No, her, obviously. I mean, the only thing Sargon appears to do is talk about her all the time, or other women, of course. But it's not as if Sargon has ever done anything else. You know,
Nope.
And you just, I mean, you know, you sort of, you almost want to go up to her and say, have you heard of Jeremy Corbyn by any chance? Sargon, you might have noticed that Sargon has had 1 or 2 things to say about him.
Oh, the thinkery is my favorite.
Not only is he not you, but I think you'll find he is also a man.
And I would have to dig in the thinkery and see if he even mentions her on that channel, which is my favorite of his channels. I love the thinkery, where he just gives you this.
I think that's much more sort of shorthand, isn't it? It's kind of he throws things out much less prepared, and just basically it's more a sort of in the spirit of the moment.
Stream of consciousness rants is what he does there. Usually it seems like. It doesn't seem, because I believe that he does what you do, and you've got to give that man credit. How he writes out the scripts and prepares the stuff as often as he does. And, you know, look Sarkeesian. I mean, I don't want to give her too much credit, but what does she do for humanity? First, I guess, before I ask that, does Sargon do anything for humanity, Britisher, at all? Or is he just like a bump on a log somewhere?
Well, I think he is part of a consciousness that is kind of rising, that is basically beginning to protest and say enough is enough. Because particularly when it comes to the Sarkeesians of this world, everything has gone much too far. And in that regard, I mean, she has had a platform at the United Nations. This man has got a large YouTube channel. So the idea that she has somehow picked upon minnow is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, a bit like Christy Winters, I'm quite sure that much of her capital is gained from the fact of her pointing to people like him and saying,
hey, we got to be nice to Miss Winters. She's friends with our bros from poisoning the well. I'm sorry.
Well, I may do so once she unblocks me.
And hey, maybe we could get her on the show one day. I think that you may have at least 1 or 2 questions for the young lady.
It would be very difficult for me to even ask her whether she would want to come on, because, as I say, she has blocked me.
No, with all due respect, that was a joke. I'll be honest. There are a few people that I just wouldn't have on. and she may or may not be one of them. The reason why is, can you imagine Miss Winters with you know, with Amanda Wolfchild there? She would get beat up.
I think the truly the true moment of any debate on the August channel in that regard would be the moment that Zero Cool had something to say to Miss Winters.
Yeah, he'd shut her down. And here's the thing. I see, let me just say it this way. Sargon does things for humanity. Even if you don't agree with him, he offers an even view of the subject. I've never heard him say anything even remotely like, this is how I feel, and if you don't agree with me, you're stupid. Now, I've heard him call people stupid, don't get me wrong, but if you don't agree with me, you're stupid or you're invalid or anything like that. Isn't that what he was doing here? I don't think that he had an entourage that followed him there. I think there was a group of people that are like-minded that happen to be hanging out with each other that went to this, and then she just fires her ire. I mean,
yes, of course. But of course, if she wouldn't paint it in that regard, so basically, if Sargon wouldn't be the central figure of the entourage who had brought everybody along, then her singling him out would not make any sense. So this is, in a way, retrospective justification for why she went at Sargon. Because frankly, she could have gone at any of them, couldn't she? It's not as if any of them in the front row agree with her or have ever, you know, put any videos out in which they, you know, wholly support the feminist frequency.
Oh, there was no love lost there, no.
So that's what I mean. That the fact that she just lashed out at Sargon, she needed to justify by basically placing him as the central kingpin, and everybody else is just a satellite that rotates around him.
Well, and here's what burns my ass. She and listen, I don't say a lot about this, but believe it or not, I donate. It's not much, but I give $1 a month. There's a few people that I give $1 a month, and there's a few people I give 10, 15, and there's one person I give $20 a month to. It just depends upon how I feel and how well they're doing and what they're doing for me. So I throw Sargon a measly $1 a month. I am 1/5,000th of this $5,000 a month Patreon deal that he's got going on, which, let's face it, is not a fucking ton of money. It's not like he's living high on the hog with that. Anyway, what about Miss Sarkeesian? I seem to remember her crowdfunding a video game that, to my knowledge, has not been released. This is a person, Sargon says, here's my service. It's free. Come and enjoy it. But if you enjoy it a lot and you have an extra buck laying around, hey, help Sargon out. You know, this is him speaking. Help me out a little bit. It'll allow me to continue this so I don't have to go get a day job. That's not stealing. Then you have a person that blatantly says, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z if you give me money, and there is no X, Y, and Z.
Well, perhaps there will be an X, Y, and Z. And she is just such a perfectionist that she is taking a very, very long time to make it and do it properly.
She's such a perfectionist. She figured out how to make $250,000 freaking quid by just promising promises out in the ether, mate. I mean, you know, I know you're being facetious, man, but she is what I would call her, as very carefully as I can, is a parasite. She's not, there's no symbiotic relationship with Sargon. If you want to go in the same vein, he's a symbiote. There's a symbiotic relationship. He attaches himself on you. He gives you some information. You give him you give him $1. Miss Sarkeesian, she attaches on you and sucks forth your life juices and gives you nothing in return.
I don't know if you remember a video that I once put out regarding Ms. Christy Winters, when I kind of mentioned her and Bering and Sargon, and there being a symbiotic relationship between them. That basically, if you look at Christy Winters' channel, there are not many subscribers. But whenever she puts something out in which she either attacks one of the two of them, or she puts something out that is so ridiculous that one of the two of them comment, then that particular video of hers gets flooded with views. So it is in a way to her advantage to keep playing this game, because she keeps hitting much greater figures in viewership than she could possibly do, justified by her subscriber figures. That was when she blocked me. You've gone silent, Mr. Ogre. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm so used to mute myself and then unmute. I muted myself instead of unmuted. But this is what I'm with you. And man, pot calling the kettle black. So she can honestly harass Mr. Avocado at a public venue where there's human beings there, where her ilk is not in the first three rows. They're all over the place. And she's talking about harassment. What if someone white, and then I don't want to go into what ifs, but you know what could happen to Sargon in these venues.
I think you can see what I mean with the symbiotic relationship. She needs Sargon, or she needs somebody like him, or the people in the first three rows to point to in order to maintain her victim narrative. If those people would suddenly cease to exist, she wouldn't have anybody to point to. Now, we know she would find something else because that is the nature of the beast. But she basically wants them to be in existence so that she can point to them and say, these are my harassers, I am the victim. I mean, it is remarkable that she actually has just harangued somebody who didn't say a word up until her outburst. And yet she is still the victim of bullying. So basically, the person who was actually calling the other person names is the bully, the victim, and the person who was silent
is the bully. Right. And that's the way it is.
That is her twisted logic, yes.
Oh, man, that is the way it is with these people. And I guess when I look at that, and yeah, I remember your video, but can I call, man? I still say that there's no symbiosis with Miss Winters or Miss Sarkeesian or any of these people. I would go so far as say Milo, Stewart, or any of these insane people, Kutzu, any of these. These are folks that know one thing: how to manipulate people using a victim narrative, as you said, and then how to attach themselves to the folks that they've victimized themselves with their victim narrative. And just, I know I already said it, man. I can't quit thinking that she is calling Carl a parasite. She's saying that by harassing her, he's sucking from these people because her, like you said, it's all about her. It's all about Chris. It's all about these people. I don't want to go just keep naming names. Maybe I could get one of these folks on the show one day, Brett. I don't know. I'm not even sure what's going to happen tonight. It's hit and miss for your beloved Ogre lately. Maybe I've been busy, or maybe I just don't give a shit. But I would like to know, why aren't they all? Okay, here, before I just soliloquize for a fucking hour. The girl with the big boobies, you know, the funny lips and the big, what's her name? MTV girl talked about sex all the time. The big boobies, man.
We're talking of Chris Ray Gunn's latest squeeze.
What the hell? I can't think of it. Someone probably already said it. Man, they got us both. Anyway, it does seem like she's coming back around.
Something green, isn't it?
Yeah, Lacey Green. It seems like she's coming around. How long until these other people come around? Or is it like you say, if Sargon didn't exist, would there just be no Anita Sarkeesian? You know, and not just, you know what I mean? If the Sargons of the world didn't exist.
They clearly would still exist because they existed long before Sargon. I mean, you know, Jermaine Greer and Andrea Dworkin and all the other complete mad women of the feminist extremes, they were around long before the internet. So therefore, they existed long before there was any internet skeptics, so to speak. But of course, people who are on the internet providing social commentary of this nature are a very good shorthand for their victimhood. And therefore, they kind of rely on those people's existence in order to be able to immediately point to them and say, well, there you go. Here's the link. These are the people who are torturing me. Help me, please. I need money. You know, man, that is effectively their narrative, isn't it?
Yeah, and the wording of this, man. Have you read this article? I know. Let me just read a piece of this for our viewers. Because so I've already read this, but let me read it again. Carl is a man who literally profits from harassing me and other women. He makes over $5,000 a month on Patreon for creating YouTube videos that mock, insult, and discredit myself and other women online. And he's
if
not
you
alone.
present it on screen, people can
sure.
read with you while you're.
Yeah, and he's not alone. She says, "I'll even highlight it right here. Let me do that." Cottage industry. So this is where I'm at, and he's not alone. He's one of several YouTubers who profit from the cottage industry of online harassment and anti-feminism. Together, these people have millions of followers who are regularly encouraged by the videos and tweets of these individuals to harass me and other women who make videos daring to assert the basic humanity of women, people of color, trans folks. I'm sorry. So this is saying that Carl's a racist. I don't believe he is. People of color, trans folks, and members of other marginalized groups. Folks, I couldn't get through that paragraph without laughing.
Well,
That's
Mr.
genuine.
Unger, can I first just congratulate you on being a fellow member of a cottage industry?
I don't make no damn money at it. I may one day. Who knows? God is the fates are crazy, but
that is effectively what she is calling us. We are. He is not alone. So basically, we are some of the minions out there who are part of the cottage industry, who are doing nothing else but spreading irrational hatred against Anita Sarkeesian. And you just sort of think,
man, Sargon don't even like me, man. He didn't even think I was funny, I don't think, or nothing. But he came on. He might come on again. Who knows? On your
channel for 5.5 hours.
Yeah. It was basically because you were dag. But here's the point on that. A minion. I watch his stuff, especially the Thinkery, and I watch the Stupid. The Weak and Stupid. I really enjoy that too. In fact, your thing and his thing are my two main sources of, what the hell happened last week. What does that make me, Brett? Relying on you two daggone British folk to give me my news once a week.
Once in a while, when we throw you some crumbs of information, you mean?
No, it's good. And the Thinkery, for when Sargon does that, it's the things that I am interested in, like this. The wording of this, it smacks of the Milo toolkit. Remember that?
Yes.
Like she went to the same class that they went to, the writing class that they went to on the feminist, how to call people. Let's see here.
In that regard, when you look at this article, it is less jargon in this, so she definitely has a more fluent style.
Oh yeah, it's more readable for sure.
Yeah. If you remember,
but it still has this...
when we read the Milo toolkit, it was unbearable. It was just basically this kind of gender studies language that is sort of put forward in sort of pseudo academic language.
Pseudo academic. Well, they were all doctors. It must have been academic language, sir.
But yeah, it's just lovely here at the bottom of that very paragraph that you were reading there.
Yeah, how many names did she call? How many accusations are there? Brett?
Women who make videos daring to assert the basic humanity of women.
One.
I mean,
people of color, two.
Because of course,
trans
without her, we wouldn't be aware of the basic humanity of women.
And she does four, but the fourth is all encompassing, man. Because she calls him a misogynist, taking away the basic humanity of women. People of color, he's a racist. Trans folk, he's whatever the word they like to use is. He doesn't like homosexual people. I know it. I hate to say it, man. That's a made-up, phony word. And members of marginalized groups. So in the end, there it makes me think of Moby Dick. Yes. Staub comes up to tell Captain Ahab that he wishes he wouldn't walk on the deck at night because it keeps him up. And he's like, "Get out of my face, Staub, or would you wad me?" As he actually asked him to put a towel on the bottom of his foot, the peg leg. And he says, "Am I a cannonball, Staub, that you'd wad me that way? Get down to your bed, down and kennel, dog." And so Staub is a little taken back. And he's like, "Well, sir, I'm not used to being called a dog and tamely taking it, sir. I usually give a hard blow for it." And he says, then this is Ahab's response, "Then be called a dog and an ass and 10,000 donkeys. Avast." In other words, get the hell out. So that's, to me, she's fucking Ahab, mate. She's so crazy that if anybody is even there in the room with her that she don't like, she called him garbage, which is whatever. That's her fucking right. I'm sure that Mr. Avocado would be like, "So what? She called me garbage." And then now he's garbage. He's an anti-feminist. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He's transphobic, and a pile on the 10,000 donkeys because all other marginalized groups. That was my windbag right there. This makes me a little ill, Britisher. I mean, this lady's got a lot of chutzpah.
Well, but I mean, it's basically par for the course, isn't it? Because we know that is the default response, that basically somebody criticizes, they are a Nazi. I mean, that's basically the way these people operate. It is just basically
Makes one wonder why.
You know, you wouldn't really want to be stuck in a lift with her, would you?
No, not me. No, I wouldn't want to even. This is the thing for me. I don't believe if I was at VidCon this year, I would have witnessed this. Because if Anita Sarkeesian, I've been to school, man. I've sat in lecture halls and take notes and whatnot. If I'm going to go listen to somebody talk for 2 hours, it's going to be somebody that I am very interested in. Not just I'm interested in what they say because I may disagree with it either. Something that I'm interested in is going to entertain me. I'm over that shit.
I think they know that basically the people who went basically knew that this woman was likely to be good entertainment value.
Oh, well, look at Sargon's face. And if you would, sir, describe the look on Sargon's face. I don't mean anything wrong, but be honest and say, describe the look, the English look he's giving her right now.
I would say that's a fairly neutral expression, to be honest.
No, I mean, honestly, sir, is what I'm asking you. Like, if you dig down deep, look at his lips and the smirk kind of that he has. Look at his eyes. He is, honest to God, laughing at her with his eyes right now in a way that I think only English people are capable of. I really do.
I'm not sure he is, to be honest. I think you might be interpreting too much. You might be
man.
Much into that.
I don't know.
But
he's got
to be honest,
his back is straight. He's
looking. All of them went there, and they pretty much all brought their cameras because, of course, they all knew that there was going to be a very good likelihood that she was going to provide them with material that they could use in videos. And I think that was the chief source of her irritation. That she kind of realized they are filming me here again.
Yeah.
And inevitably, they're going to put me in a video and call out what nonsense I'm talking.
Yeah, and then look, man, it ain't going to be a big debate about this. I'm going to say it one more time. In my humble opinion, I went to school with a couple Englishmen, man. One was Craig from Manchester. I can't say it like him, but he would say, if you didn't say Craig, if you didn't say Craig and smile, he'd say, you can't say my name, mate, unless you smile. Craig. He's black as the ace of spades, but as English as anybody. That's what kind of drew my attention to English folks. It was like, wow, these people are unique to me and folks that I met. And then it doesn't. And there was, let's see, there was a little girl that was looked Middle Eastern, and there was a little girl that looked Chinese, Asian. They were all English, and they were all very English. Look, let me just say this: Craig could do. That's why I'm saying this too, and I'm not accusing him of doing anything but showing up and seeing what she has to say. Believe me, I'm not saying he was goading or anything. I'm just saying the look on his face right now, mate, is checkmate. That's what it looks like to me. Checkmate. I won. I'm not even going to argue it with anybody. I
think there was kind of an element of I'm behaving myself.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that may be what you're kind of alluding to. That basically, you cannot do anything about me because I am not doing anything that you could point to. So basically, because by that time, I think she'd more than likely already called security. Because I don't know, you did hear that she called security.
Yeah, that's unthinkable. I can't unfathomable. Because again, even when I'm digging down, because I'm looking at Worski's there too. Both the Worski brothers are like, they have a very Canadian look about them. Like the defensive arm cross with Andy, and the way he's not really looking at everybody there. But I watched the panel. I watched the before part of this. I don't even know. Britisher, I wouldn't go here. I'm telling you, mate. even if you were in LA and I was there in Anaheim and you were like, I'm going to see Miss Sarkeesian, I'd be like, man, I'm going around the corner smoking a doobie. I'll be here when you get out. I would go watch this, do whatever. I'm going to see Boogie or somebody else. I did notice one thing that really bums me out. Forget about the looks, because that's just my subjective opinion. I'm just looking at Sargon and he looks like he just won the fucking match. He looks like, yeah, I'm here. I didn't do a damn thing. Now you attacked me at your panel on cyberbullying, wasn't it, British?
Well, so do you think that, I think in that case, perhaps we're looking at a different timeline here, because I'm assuming that that photograph is taken before she had a go at him. So you think this is afterwards?
Oh, yeah, because I've watched the whole thing and I've seen a lot of angles of Sargon. Not a lot, but in the beginning, he was sit there, you know. He was more, but at this point, I'm telling you, you can see his posture straight up. He's not going, nothing like that, but he's got you can see his eyes just going, I win. You just called me garbage in front of everybody, and now I'm sat here not doing anything about it.
Well, if you remember the last time I was on, I showed you the meme I had put out with Homo detritus, because he was called the garbage human. I put the other link in the side chat there for you, because that was the other meme I put out afterwards.
Oh, this won't be the first time we've shared this one on this show, but I don't get sick of it. This is actually hilarious.
This was basically because obviously I couldn't let go of the garbage thing, because of course there was all sorts of claims of them being not just a garbage human but garbage humans. So I took that to garbage men, and just basically
you have a row of some of my favorites. Probably my very favorite in this group right here is V right here, man. I've been watching him since I don't even think he had 1,000 subs when I first clicked on him.
Would that be Vernaculus of Akkad?
Yeah, I'm trying to take your lead, mate. That's why I just say
that's only a joke. That's only a joke that works for anyone that's watched the week that was. I'm sorry.
No, it was good. I think anybody would get that even now, mate. Yeah, it was Vernaculus of Akkad. I did notice you said, how was it, Erdogan? You pronounced something one way one time and then another way another time, because I was kind of mocking you for it. Jenny and I was sat here listening to the week that was. I think it was Erdogan. I was like, man, listen to him. He thinks he's so perfect. He just said, I don't even remember what it was now. No, I sound stupid.
No, anyway. I think it could have been Bahrain, which then
Bahrain. Oh, no, Qatar. It was Qatar. Because you said it different than Qatar or Qatar the first couple times. I was like, damn, Jenny, I know 2 ways to say Qatar now, and he slipped a third one in on me.
Well, there was definitely one with Bahrain, and there was one or two. There was an expression I used wrong twice that I'm definitely aware of. But this is one of the problems that just try talking for 20 minutes straight.
I thought you did it on purpose.
Listen back to yourself and see whether you've made any slip-ups or not. It's quite tough.
I can try it at the end of this. I won't go 20, but I would try to give you, in fact, I have a speech in mind. I'll try to give you an 8-minute speech from memory with no extemporaneous notes. But that's a toughie, 20 minutes. The problem that I have, Britisher, with cutting is where I'm at with the mic and the projection. And I can't see where you cut because you got to cut it. Is that from front to back, one take?
No, well, it's from front to back, really one take. But if I get something wrong, I will repeat it. So then I cut things out.
Yeah, I don't hear where you do that.
I'm quite strict about trying to keep in roughly the same position in proportion to the mic. So therefore, I don't really move, if you know what I mean.
This is hilarious.
So you will get roughly the same sound. It won't alter altogether. So sometimes you will get a slight change in sound, just because after 3 or 4 times of saying the same thing, you will invariably begin sounding irritated.
Yeah, imagine. I mean, so you just cut the heads off of actual individuals here, and if you don't mind, if you can say it, what program? How do you do this, dude? I mean, I don't expect you to show me.
That's Photoshop.
So it's Photoshop.
Yeah, I think for something like that, I don't think there will be many programs with which you can do that other than Photoshop. What
I have to do, I'll show you what I got to do with that stuff you send me, man. Oh, is it in this one? I think downloads. So I got to go to this and then find a picture like this one. And then I got to open with, you see, I got to open with Paint. I don't have Photoshop. I got Photo Gallery, Paint 3D, which is an online thing. And then I can go in here. And, you know, with every one, I've got to go back and go, you know, take this out by brushing it out and then add the text box and, you know, the whole, it's every one. I would wish that I could put a blank in something and save a blank, but wait, well, I don't know, man. I am not good with these picture things. That's what I just demonstrated.
Yeah, with Photoshop, what it does is it creates layers. So basically you can put layers of text on top of each other and you can just basically tell it to show one layer. So you can just keep adding another title and basically then just producing the picture with that one particular title and none of the others showing. So it is a very, very clever program. The problem with Photoshop is that it is by now, over the years, they've added that many different functions to it that by now, for a newcomer to get into it must be very, very difficult. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like you've got like computer games. People will be familiar with that you get a first version of a computer game, and the people who buy that, it's fairly intuitive to get into it, but then they do an update or they do another newer version, and then it's already more complicated because they've added more things to it. And if then suddenly, you know, if after sort of 9-10 years and every single year they've added more functionality to it, if after that time you haven't actually been with it fairly from the beginning and you're trying to get into this game, it's a bit like bookkeeping, because it's that complicated of trying to understand all the functions within the game. And in that regard, I think Photoshop is a bit like that by now, that it began like something like a simple painting program, and there was just more and more stuff added to it until now there are books written on how to use Photoshop.
Yeah, I'm kind of sorry I brought that up. That must be boring to everybody listening. But it's interesting to me because I've got my talents. I do music. And but whenever I see somebody that I'm not going to mention, it might be right here with me right now, that to say, I mean, like you write scripts, but then you do the things with pictures. I don't know how you feel about it, mate, but I wouldn't say it in public. You're good at the meme thing. You need to do more memes. You'd be the meme master on Twitter next. Take over Twitter.
Well, the first one I did, if you remember, was the one with the Queen.
Yes.
Don't mention that May woman. And that went absolutely nowhere. Nobody was interested. I thought you got to hit it on. I thought you got to hit the nail on the head. Absolutely nowhere, and it was precisely after the disastrous election, so it was topical, but it went absolutely nowhere. But this time round, it was a bit more. There was slightly more fruitful ground if you've got someone like Sargon of Akkad or the YouTube skeptics to exploit.
Yeah, exploit. I like that word. It's true. That's what you did. You exploited them.
I mean, you know, if you want to know the ultimate exploitation, of course, that's the latest one I've put up, which I think you've seen that one. You must have done. Yeah, you got that one. You got to click on it in order to get the title.
Oh well, yeah. Oh, there you go. Expectations for VidCon 2018. That's funny.
That's the famous picture of Sargon hugging Lacey Green.
She's got her hand up in the.
Yes, yeah. So so I decided to turn Lacey Green into Thunderfoot, and basically just say, well, these are the expectations. Given that we've seen such impossible deeds of seeing Lacey Green and Sargon hugging, we would at least for 2018 be expecting Thunderfoot and Sargon to be making up.
Yeah. Oh, they don't get along? I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh yeah,
I don't really watch Thunder.
They've fallen out with each other somewhat spectacularly recently. Yes. Well, to be honest, it wasn't so much Sargon. It wasn't so much Sargon that fell out with Thunderfoot. It was Thunderfoot that fell out with Sargon.
Right. That's because I made some statements yesterday about Thunderfoot. I mean, I didn't got no real problem with the guy, but screw you, dude. He was great when he made the things about you can't breathe underwater with a bicycle handle, and solar roads are BS, and the tube thing that, you know, Elon Musk was telling is just nonsense. He was great at that. But then sometimes, I don't know. He's not too good at what folks like, I'd say Till Deer and Sargon do. He's not too good at that. Even when he did the Anita Sarkeesian thing that he did, I wasn't into it, man. I don't know why. I just like it when he does his science shit, when he starts his car with a lithium battery this big, you know, stuff like that. It's cool. He's a scientist. You should stick with that.
I think when it comes to Anita Sarkeesian, he was quite good at that. I think he was very, very good at dissecting her.
You know, my grandpa said opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. They all stink like shit. I'm just telling you what I think, mate.
Well, no, I think there was a reason why he was quite popular for those sort of things, and that was because I think he did have an innate talent for it.
Well, and he was exploiting the situation too, as you said. He hit the nail on the head at the right time. I got to give him that. I'm not saying that, and I've watched every one of them, so there's that.
Man,
I've probably watched all of his videos.
Yeah, as I've always said to you, I'm looking forward to him trying to make a video on Donald Trump's solar wall.
Solar wall, I don't know, man. They keep on pushing him in corners. I thought we were going to talk about politics. You got to take a jab at my president all the time, man. You know, I take exception to that, Britisher. You hurt my feelings.
Excuse me, I'm almost trying to choke myself whilst laughing and drinking at the same time.
Well, look, man, I know that you just want to pile on Trump like everybody else, but let me just say something right here. The Hillary Clinton did work. I know of her life, and then she was opposed to Obamacare. Said the same things then that they're saying now. It's politics. You know, oh, you're going to kill people. Listen, we don't need government in this country. Do it your way, Britishers. I wouldn't want a discussion about whether the healthcare system in your country is good or bad. I don't really give a shit. Not British. But here it sucks. It's getting worse. When they talk about premiums are going, no, it's already happened. My cousin that's been a transcriptionist for years, she still is, makes good money doing it, but works. She works 12 hours a day at least, 6 days a week, all the time. Every time you go in there, Lori, she's typing. She had to drop her bleeding insurance, you know, because she can't afford it anymore. And this is a person that just, I mean, I don't want to get into all the toys and stuff that they buy, but they got them. Got a big pole barn full of toys, got everything that they want or need. But they can't afford healthcare insurance anymore. And so the debate isn't, this is what I dislike. Of everything that somebody has said to me, you can't, everybody I know about Trump ain't building a wall. And now he said, Comey better hope I don't have a tape. Never said nothing about having tapes, and everybody but Fox News is spinning it to, oh, Trump said he had tapes and blah, blah, blah. Man, come on, man. This is what I don't like. He said repeal and replace. They're not repealing. And to me, he should just said repeal and throw away. You know, let have an open market. Let me buy insurance from anywhere I want. Also, not from just inside of my state. Let me buy insurance from Kuala Lumpur or Papua New Guinea or wherever the hell I want to buy insurance from. As long as it's my decision and I pay my premium and I'm agreeing with my lawyer. Look, I ramble on, but that's what's bumming me out. And a close second to that is the taxes. But Trump isn't perfect. But man, can't you see, Britisher, that I believe you have also fallen victim to the bombardment that's going on right now in the media, the all out and out propaganda that won't tell you that John Podesta made $800,000 with Star Shaker Energies or something like Star Trembler Energies, something to that effect from Russia, dealings with Russia while he was with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton they're investigating Loretta Lynch right now and John Podesta. President Trump still, as far as I know, they were talking about, oh, he's going to fire Mueller now. Look, and I'm rambling, British, because this is what I follow. I care about a couple of things. I'll care about these things. The President of the United States and what the executive branch is doing. The legislative branch and what the House and the Senate are doing. I really care about that a lot. And what the judicial branch is doing. I care about the three branches of government. The fourth estate, I don't know. It's fake fucking news. What do I care? I mean, I've got to look at it to get something, and I've got to read papers to sift through the bullshit to get the fertilizer. But can't you see that that's what's happening right now, man? I believe we have a really great president. The propaganda is full blown, man. Full blown.
Well, how should we say? My skepticism is this: that I understand there is propaganda against Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong, there is. There clearly is. There is a lot of nonsense spoken. I mean, the entire Russia story is ridiculous. But then at the same time, I'm also not willing to just simply dismiss all criticism of Donald Trump. Do you see the difference of those two positions? Can you hear me at all or not? Or have I lost you? I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'll have to look in the chat now to see whether people can still hear us, because I'm not sure whether we've got a technical problem. Because can someone in the chat out there indicate whether they can hear me or not? Okay, so I can see that people can hear me. So I'm not sure whether something has come up at the ogre's end and he has stepped out. So I'll just try and fill some dead air while I'm alone here. No pressure on the Brit at all there. But yeah, good to know that you guys can hear me out there. So yeah, no.
Sorry, I got to put my Bluetooth in because I had to go and take a little quick break for one reason or another. And until I put these in, I can't hear you. But I figured you were just besmirching Trump some more anyway. I've heard you do it all the time. I usually don't even argue with you, just or anybody else, because I don't know what to say, Britt. But when you're here,
well, I think actually I think the chat might come to my defense in that, because I didn't actually go on a rant.
Kiss his ass. Go ahead, kiss his ass.
I was actually quite well behaved, I think.
No, not you, them. Go ahead. Kiss and suck up to the Britisher. Big bad Brit. No, I'm sorry. I'm sure they would, but come to your defense to what? Or come to your, on your side for what, though?
Well, no, he's not doing what you were sort of saying you were betting that while you were gone, I was besmirching the president. And I sort of said, well, no, actually, I don't think I was doing that, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a difference in what I said and what you might have been talking about, and they were agreeing with you. And that's fine, whatever. I feel like there is a certain amount of blinders. I try very carefully, because I'm not into your politics in the same way. Man, I take it all. I don't know. I ask y'all because I'm not there. And that's it. I don't know. Maybe you can see something I don't. But Trump's he's doing a job, man. He's doing a good job.
Well, we'll see. As I say, I think in the end, the judgment of it is according to what it turns out like in the end. So we will just have to remain. We will have to remain curious and basically see what comes out in the end.
Yeah, I agree. I can't disagree with that. But I'll say this: the thing he just did with the VAs, man, he just signed a bill for the veterans, and man, there's just a lot of cool stuff he's doing. That if you really look, it's instead of what the news. Not that you do this, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but not just what the news is saying. Look, he's doing this bad, that. Because last I looked, 80. What was it? It might have been 90. Now I'm not going to quote the number, but it was high figures of the amount of stories on Donald Trump on CNN were negative. It was, I believe it was 98. It might have been like 2 stories or 96, 4 stories out of 100 were like Donald Trump had a balloon today.
Surprise, because in that regard, most of the broadcast media in America is basically siding with the Democrats. So they will just simply find every angle possible in order to criticize him.
You really think it's just the Democrats they're siding with, though? I think, oh man, I think there's an overarching something.
As I say, the thing I said when you seem to be off air was basically that I am fully aware that there's a great deal of propaganda against Trump out there, but at the same time, that is not to say that one should not also be critical of Donald Trump. Do you understand what I mean? Because
I am. That's why I started with 2 things I didn't like that he, said he was going to do that he's not really seeming to do.
Because yeah, as you say, that there are things that he said he would do and he hasn't done. But at the same time, we also know that Russia, 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 Russia really leads nowhere, because I'm sorry, it seems to be a complete load of nonsense. So there are stories that clearly, you know, to anybody who looks at it, clearly aren't what Donald Trump promised. At the same time, there are stories that are just complete and utter nonsense, that one can absolutely see that Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to do with it, and that they've just pulled this out of thin air. And at the same time, there are also stories which are somewhere in between those two, where in a way you're still in a situation where you need to speculate, because you're wondering, well, is there potential to this? Could this still go somewhere? And I think those are, in a way, the three categories of stories when it comes to Trump. Now, I agree with you. The overwhelming majority of them are in the Trump is the devil category, which you can simply dismiss. But that still doesn't mean that there aren't those other two categories of stories, which nonetheless you have to keep an eye on.
So you would think that it might be high 80% rate that would the problem that I have.
I'm absolutely convinced that, yes, the majority of stuff that has been put out about Donald Trump is complete and utter nonsense. Because, you know, I mean, come off it. Prostitutes urinating on beds in Russian hotels. I'm sorry, please. You know, you listen to this and you just go, I'm sorry, is anybody supposed to credit that with any credibility? I mean, no one in their right mind buys such a story, particularly given that when it then turns out what the source of this story has been. And yeah,
apparently it was a British guy.
Yes, it was a British guy who was first employed by the Republican opponents of Trump. And then when Trump became the candidate, it was then the Democrats. And you go, so this is a reliable source? You know, and you look at it and you just go, this is just complete idiocy that one is even spending any time on it. So yes, as I say, there are a great many stories that have been put out that are utter garbage. So on that side, we completely agree. The majority of stories about Donald Trump that basically proclaim him to be the villain in everything, the majority of those stories are complete nonsense.
I remember you were saying that if all the stories are good, then we wouldn't be able to, you know, how would we know when one comes up? I would say the same on the other foot. I mean, obviously, if they're all bad, how do we know which one we should really think about? Because it goes beyond just
that's why it's so important that we keep our critical faculties about ourselves. That basically we don't start dismissing everything as rubbish just because the majority of it is.
Yeah, well, I try not to, but to be honest, man, I go to Drudge a lot because I like to read my news. I don't like to have somebody read it to me. I watch Tucker Carlson for the entertainment factor. And damn, I'm trying to think. That's really the only. On Sunday, at night I'll go to YouTube and I'll watch the Sunday news shows sometimes just for a little more entertainment. But you know, Disgrace the Nation. I don't know. I watched like 5 minutes of it today. I was like, oh man, I can't even stomach that.
Well, if you're interested, something that's a bit less political. We're not talking about Trump. I put something in the side chat again there. It's a Guardian article.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry about that too, because I do feel like I'm patriotic to a certain extent, especially when someone is a nationalist and a patriotic person. I got to back them, and I feel that way about Trump. So hey, enough said. What's this here? The HMS Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier to take to the seas, eh?
Well, if you remember, we had one or two aircraft carriers, but they were getting old. So then we started making plans to replace them. But then the credit crunch happened, and the credit crunch hit Britain in a way in proportion worse than it did any other country, because we have got a very, very big banking capital. So the financial capital of London is incredible in scale to the overall proportion of Britain's economy. So when suddenly all the banks tanked, Britain's economy was in serious trouble. So with all the cuts that came in, they actually got rid of the aircraft carriers. So for about 10 years or so, Britain has not had a functioning aircraft carrier. I think they've kept one of them. Was it Illustrious or Invincible? I'm not sure. They've kept it mothballed just in case they suddenly would need it, but it has been out of service. So now, finally, the first new aircraft carrier has been finished at a cost of $3.5 billion, as you can see there. So now they're actually building 2 of them. So this is now the first one that's being completed.
They're also questioning whether or not they can put planes on it, whether they can put jets on board.
Well, I think on the second one, the first one, the first one definitely it will have jets once the F-35 comes about. So basically, once the Americans get their act together, I really don't understand why the Brits didn't build their own jet aircraft for this thing. It's not as if they haven't had any experience with jump jets. You know, that they invented the Harrier for Christ's sake. Oh. But yeah, they decided to go with the Joint Strike Fighter, and I believe the overall idea would be that one would have the same weapon systems as the Americans. That basically American planes would be able to land on the British aircraft carriers if need be, and vice versa. So I think that's pretty much the idea of it, that they're almost like Lego bricks. They would be interchangeable.
Yeah, the Spitfire. I mean, they all have made a lot of. That's when I think that you would imagine that Great Britain would have the most powerful navy on Earth. They did for a long, 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 long time.
Well, we had for a long time, but the basic problem with naval power and whatever is just there's too many Americans. You know, if you look at the size of Britain, and you think of, I mean, how many of us are there? There's about 65 million of us.
Yeah,
and
so
then you look at, and then you look at the Americans, and there's how many of them? About 350 million or something like that.
325 at least, yeah, 350 somewhere like that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are the 65 million island, how on earth do you compete with that? You know, so that's.
Well, how many Indians were there when England rolled over there and made them all drive on the left side of the road? They still do in Beijing. They drive I mean, you know where the English conquered because they drive on the left side of the road.
With India, I mean, that was a sort of very convoluted special case as to how Britain kind of almost by accident ended up with India.
Oh, nonsense. But it was the big question.
No, seriously, the British never set out to actually conquer India. There was never a specific plan that we shall land there and we shall conquer it.
Okay.
It kind of happened piecemeal, a bit like the Roman Empire. The Romans kind of didn't set out to conquer Egypt and the Middle East and things like that. It kind of happened.
Manifest destiny kind of thing?
I mean, the Romans for a long time believed that it was manifest destiny, and then eventually changed their mind after the disaster in Germany. But the British, in very much the same way, it was basically the East India Company that set itself up with trading posts and whatever in India, but they kept being attacked by local warlords. So they kind of obviously, you know, they got their own armed guards together, which eventually kind of grew into armies the bigger the threat became. And the more often they were attacked, the more often they had to defeat enemies and take over their territory. So these trading posts kind of started spreading gradually over the entire subcontinent until eventually the British East India Company, so this wasn't even the country, this was a company, had effectively, without ever setting out to do so, it had conquered India.
But Britisher, you're talking about Harriman and the railroad, you're talking about the same way we have the United States of America right now. We had outposts and we civilized. I mean, come on. And what I'm trying to say is, okay, fine. The United States didn't set out to be anything more than 13 colonies they wanted to take over from Great Britain. And now there's 50 states. Some of them are not even connected with, as far as Hawaii and Alaska. And okay, Great Britain didn't set out to take India, but they did, and we did, and we, you know, it's just.
What I mean is, if you compare America and India with each other, the one thing that you have to keep apart in that regard is that, of course, there was a massive influx of European population into America. These people needed to go somewhere. So even though one was basically pushing forward the frontier all the time, it was fairly obvious which way that was going to go. But at the same time, in India, I mean, how many white people live there today?
Not many.
There wasn't really an influx. There was no attempt to displace the population or anything like that. It was kind of something that sort of came about by a quirk of history, whereby a corporation conquered a subcontinent.
Well, yeah, I understand the East, and we could. I mean, again, we could say that there was corporations involved in the United States. I just mentioned the Harriman with his engines, but that happens all over the place. I guess in the end, what I liked about what you said, what made me feel better about your country and mine, is in the end, isn't it like Rome? Didn't England bring a certain amount of light and learning to that area, and therefore they were accepted without so much battle?
Oh, very much so. Yes. I mean, in that regard, they brought a great deal. I mean, Gandhi was a great fan of the British for a long time. And what he actually wanted for India was greater autonomy. It was only after the Amritsar massacre, I believe, that Gandhi eventually changed his tune and said, look, now it's gone too far. I mean, now there's been blood. You can't go back from here. But for a long time, Gandhi was very admiring of Britain because he saw the difference of India and he saw Britain, and he realized that here was a very forward, very highly advanced nation that was basically pulling up colonial territories by their bootstraps and basically elevating them. Of course, nowadays, colonialism is very much poo-pooed, mainly by the left. And for some reason, nobody dares to actually stand up and say, actually, what was wrong with it? It's basically, if you in any way argue that there was any benefits to colonialism, then you are by default a racist. Frankly, I don't quite see it that way. I think perhaps, you know, one of the inherent problems was that 2 world wars weakened France and Britain that much that they were no longer capable of maintaining their colonial empires. And to a certain extent, it should perhaps then have fallen to the Soviet Union and the Americans to kind of continue those empires and finish the job. The fact that those jobs weren't finished perhaps explains some of the problems we face in the world today.
Well, yeah, look what happened in Germany when the United States and USSR tried to, you know, you had East and West Berlin, you had East and West Germany. It was a horror show. And I know that's kind of off, but that's when you say if the United States and Great Britain. When we were watching that Ghazi Kutsu with Gavin McGinnis the other day, he was telling, you know, Ghazi kept saying, reparations, you stole our resources. And then Gavin pointed out something in Plumbo, they were both saying it at the end. Well, I mean, what basically has happened, you're talking about colonization and colonialism, but what you're talking about is people bringing civilization and trade and commerce to you, and you becoming a part of that, because they were saying white people because they were battling this, but I would just say Western civilization, most of them are white, are good at systems. They're good at, I mean, come on, man. Who can beat the Germans at writing down, you know, what happens at what time every day? Or who could beat the English at having a schedule, or however the fuck you say it in English?
Schedule.
Schedule.
As opposed to schedule. You say schedule, so the C is hard, whereas with us there is no C, so it's schedule.
Schedule. So okay, is it a lieutenant or lieutenant?
Actually, that's quite a debate, because in some cases in British forces it's lieutenant, in others it's lieutenant. So in some cases we go with the French, as do the Americans. And in some cases, we go with the English.
Oh, go with the French. So when you say left, because I looked that up, and the only thing it said was it's spelled lieutenant. That's how you would say it. Well, but they said when the lieutenant was completely up to, you know,
lieutenant is French. So that is where lieutenant comes from.
Okay, but when we say, okay, so how does French play into saying it lieutenant or lieutenant?
No, that is the French. So that's
I
lieutenant.
can't even begin to say it. No, you want to try to speak some Spanish,
But
mate?
if,
I mean, that's
if I'm not, if I might be completely wrong here with the etymology of this, but I believe lieu, so basically place, and then tenant, so basically taking. So basically the guy who takes place.
oh, up like the general or something, or the field marshal.
I would assume that it kind of refers to, you know, basically if the captain gets shot, the lieutenant takes over.
Yeah,
So he takes his place. Do you understand? I think it's I think that's where the actual word comes from. So obviously then in English, with us not sort of pronouncing it the French way, it then became lieutenant.
Oh, and yes, the finer print. Hong Kong drives on the left side, not Beijing. Sorry. I know that's a little late. Hey, man, you were busy yesterday, and I knew you were busy, mate. And I'm sorry if I pestered you. But one of these days, Cass S is going to have to face you. He's not in the chat today. I don't see him.
You like trying to set up these ding dongs, don't you?
Well, between two people that are opposed, that are both
you're already trying to set me up for some kind of mental jousting with Scott Pressler, and now you're also saying.
Oh, I already had. We already did. You already did that. I don't want to talk about that too much. I want to have Scott back. I don't want to hurt his feelings. But here's the thing. You know, I was going with him, but the topic was something that you two were talking about, and you know, Cass S knows a lot about England, so the stance that I take is so that I'm not debating everybody that comes on the channel, which I really would be happy to do, but it would make me look like a dick. I leave it to, you know, people that know what they're speaking of. And I pointed out to him, and Britisher, I can pull him up right now. I've got, out of respect for him, because he did give them to me that day, excuse me, he gave me some more. He gave me the links again. London map reveals areas with 50% migrants in the UK. And I mean, I have 3 of them from him. I'll send them to you. But, you know, I looked over them. It doesn't really. What was said was that 50% of people in London were not born in Great Britain.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that was the original.
That, as far as I can see, sir, that is just not the case. So the debate to me is, Cass S, with all due respect, if you watch this later, is does Cass S care if London was all, man, I can't say Hispanic, so I'm just going to go with it, black. I mean, English, though. You know what I mean, Britisher, when I say black. English, not just an Englishman, but dark skin. Would that matter to him? That's what I would like to know. And I'd just like to hear you two go. Well, yes, ding dong. Fine. Ding dong. Yes.
If you remember, I sent you some links after that originally was brought up, because when it was brought up, I had nothing to say because I had no information to go on. Because I said at the time, I don't think it's actually the case that 50% are.
Oh, Cass is here.
Okay.
Swing on in, Cass. If you would like to speak, how much more time you got, Brett? Because we can do it Wednesday. I'm gonna try to get Sevi Rose on tonight, man. And if she comes on, it'd be cool if you swung by. I'm gonna get a hold of Amanda Wolfchild and see if Day is Dead has not just shunned us for cooler pastures. No, I'm sure she'll come by if she's free. And,
yeah, you definitely. What you'll need to do is you'll need to start drilling some spikes into those sunglasses of yours, Olga, if you want Day back.
Hey, I do my own thing, man, and I really like but you gotta, and listen, Fat Pat. I don't know what I'm just gonna say it. I like them both, but man, that fucking Sophane, man. We were ding donging, as you say on Twitter today. And it was like, I seen it. I stole it from somebody else. I didn't make it up. And I was like, you're so vain. You probably think this tweet is about you. Because
that was very witty, by the way. Yes, it did make me laugh.
Fat Pat was talking about, oh, you got to get up early in the morning. Wasn't you the one who started that? Somehow outshining him. Wasn't that you, Britisher?
I think that was me, yes, who said that. Yeah, I think it was because you said we should be going to VidCon next year. And I said, oh, no, we couldn't possibly do that because we would outshine Sophane and Fat Pat.
And so, you know, in jokes and satire and this kind, and even in lies, there's always a little truth. And the truth is that you can tell, man, Sophane, you know, he's like, You know, he's blowed himself up, and but I won't put spikes in my glasses. I do like him. I would always take and emulate people that I admire. Yourself, So Fain, even Fat Pat. But it not be. I would say yourself and I. We work together. Obviously, people are listening to us now, mate. But we work together well for. I think our egos are even though we're so much different. Those two. How would you like to be Fat Pat and work with that guy every day? Because he's always outshining whoever's in the room. He's like a fucking puppy dog or a little kid. You don't want to bring him on stage with you because nobody pays attention to you.
Well, I've got the feeling, I could be completely wrong here, but I believe that Fat Pat is involved with quite a bit of the scripting. Wasn't it said that he was a stand-up comic?
Oh yeah, he's and let's face it, I can talk all the trash I want. I'm not going to break out a character, but let's face it, both of them are very important. It's Laurel and Hardy there, folks. I mean, you couldn't give, if one went away. In other words, if Fat Pat wasn't sitting by him while he was talking trash at 3 o'clock in the morning at VidCon, I may have turned So Fain off.
And by the way, mentioning Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, it was Stan Laurel that wrote everything. Absolutely,
he was the brains behind the whole deal.
He was the brains behind it, yes. But
he was also English. You probably knew that, though.
Yes, yeah. But both of them worked brilliantly together. And you would never have been able to tell, had you not known from the background information, that it was only one of them who was actually working it all out, because they were seamless, the two of them, absolute perfection. But yes, how did you like my little rhyme when it came to So Fain?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did that, mate, because it really got me kicked into gear. RPR, he's listening right now. The little tune that I did there on the drums and guitar and did the vocals, he wrote the lyrics for him.
Yes.
And so anyway, when I seen that, it was like, man, I got it. So I did that really kicked me into gear. No, that was funny. Would you call that a limerick? What would you call that? Just a rhyme?
I don't even know. It's just basically, I just sort of, because you kicked it off by basically doing the he's so Fain, he probably thinks this tweet is about him. That basically Fain Vain, it started my brain rolling. So I came up with his name's So Fain, not sure he's quite sane, never goes by train, looks as though from Spain, he is rather vain, proves hard to maintain, even worse to restrain, did once rack his brain, but then never again.
Never again. That was
yes. Trust me to screw up my own rhyme, but yes, no. So basically, put that on Twitter, and they both seem amused by that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it got me tickled. It's just it takes a certain talent to be able to link rhymes like that, where the whole thing is this a linear. Isn't that what they call it? A linear rhyme. The meter.
But, no, it just, I don't know. You started my mind rolling on that one with the he's so Fain.
Well, I'm really hoping that with all the work I put into this daggone thing, I mean, I know it's not all produced like Poisoning the Well with the Skeptic and freaking Logic. I know it's not all, but I will, at least maybe they'll swing by next Monday for, an hour, boys. Would that be too much to ask? So we'll see. Time will tell. I don't know. But I have been pestering them. I sent them the thing, and then they were. I will say this: I sent you what we were talking about between me and them. And I'm not gonna share with everybody. They're so cool, man. As much as I want to be a dick now and just be Mr. Cool and like, oh, blah blah blah, they're actually very humble guys. That man, they're really great fellas, man. They show me, and they should show everyone else, that you can be the coolest guy in the room and not be a dick about it.
And they have just passed 10,000 subscribers, I dare say.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I think when I first became aware of them, they were somewhere in the 8,000s.
Yeah, 8.
So they have just
360 or so overnight.
Something like that. But basically, after that, they have basically easily added another 1,000 on top of that, completely on their own steam. So it's not as if they need me.
Well, no, I wouldn't say they needed you, but you know what they did need, Britisher, is sometimes you're that locomotive, you're going up the hill, and you know, if you just need the little boom, and it'll get you over the hill, because they were at, ask them, and I'm not gonna, because no, you didn't do it. You just did something cool that drew other people's attention and kind of got that bump in the locomotive. But I mean, they were at 8,000 something for a long time, mate. I kept looking at that number going, because you know, people, I'm telling you, Britisher, if I had 100 pounds for every time somebody comes to me throughout the week and is like, oi, you know the Britisher, mate, get him to do fucking this and that for me. And how many times do I say anything to you about it after the first time?
Actually, so far, not once. Yes.
Well, I did. If you remember, I did once. I did once with this one particular person we won't mention.
Yes.
And then after that situation, but if I had 100 pounds for every time that happened, I wouldn't have to work, mate.
Yes, there was that one time, and that didn't really work out very well. And then since then, it's basically we've left it at that. Yes.
Well, right, because we're mates, and I don't want to be the guy that's like, hey, hell, you know, every time something, you know, and then pretty soon it's like, man, this is, you know, for you, it would be like this. I know how I would feel. It'd be like, this is getting a little, this sucks. Oh, anyway.
Yes, I think what
I had no idea you were going.
What many people believe in that regard was that I'm the monkey and you're the organ grinder.
Oh, bullshit. Yeah, I think it's, hopefully it's equal. If anything, it's the other way around. But listen, I had nothing to do with that poisoning the well thing outside of they were on the show and you met them, and I had no idea you were going to do it, you know, because a lot of folks, I think them included, sometimes think, oh, the ogre did. No, I got no fun. If I have any pull with the Britisher, I don't exercise it in this way. No more than he does for me. He never tells me
I
what
was just very taken. We've got quite an echo now again, I'm afraid.
Uh-oh. All right. Yeah, and I ain't going to go on for much longer. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was going to invite a few people in, but it's Monday, Britt. It's so nice to have you on. And let's face it, man, with all due respect, because a lot of the people that are on the show, some of the people that are on the show, I should say, are in the chat right now. So I'm obviously not besmirching or saying anything bad, but I mean, once in a while, it's just nice to have a couple people on and be able to ding-dong it back and forth.
Yeah, when it comes to Sophane and whatever, what just basically happened was that they came on, and I was just so taken by them. I thought these guys must have a bigger audience, so that's why I did the video. It was just basically, I mean, I've told you, haven't I, that basically the moment I laid eyes on Sophane, I thought this man's a rock star.
Yeah, me too.
There must be, surely there must be a greater audience available for people like that. And
well, and they'll get it. They'll plug away. I have a feeling.
I sort of thought, you know, whatever small contribution I can do to kind of, you know, push the cart up the hill, I would just do it.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll ever forget you for that either. I mean, I've done some little stupid things myself, which might have got them like 5 subs leave. You know, I think I did a video about them. They lost 10 subs, Brett. So sorry, boys, but thanks for being my friend anyway. Praise Keck. I don't know what to say.
But I think by the sound of it, I think they've done very, very well at VidCon.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you see how they come through the screen at you. Imagine if you were there with them. They're very warm and open, nice guys. They promote parties and stuff around Atlanta, Georgia. You know, that's what they do.
Yes, I don't know if you caught that tweet of mine when I just couldn't help myself because there was some shot of them and there was lots of girls around them. And somebody sort of tweeted and sort of said, my God, you guys seem to be, you know, proper babe magnets. And I just couldn't help myself. I just sort of tweeted and said, I'm sorry to point this out, but aren't all the girls looking the other way?
Toward England, sir.
After which I think Fat Pat kind of sort of embarrassedly replied, we planned it that way.
Oh, well, lucky them. Well, and all I can say is, you know, if we'd ever could arrange it where the British would come and do a snap inspection of the colonies, and perhaps in that frame of time, work his way over to VidCon. I know you'd have to cling. What you do is you cling to them like a barnacle. You just, you know, not too tight, but you're there. You're just like there, you know, watching. Hi, I'm with the band.
You're the roadie.
Sometimes it works well. Sorry. No, them boys just tickle me because I really don't know many other. I know of a couple of the people I'm not going to name that were doing something similar. And I'm not going to name them because I don't know. I watched what they were doing. But the boys, man, I tell you, once again, for anybody that did crowdfund them to go, I'm not one of them. You got your money's worth because they were right there. I already said this, Britisher. I'm just impressed with those boys. Their work ethic is second to none. How they can come home from work, hammer beers, and still promote parties and do whatever the hell it is they do. I don't really know, but they're good at it.
Yes, no, they are very good at what they do. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, Britty, I'm probably going to haul ass, man. Let me see. It was, I don't know. If anybody wants to swing in and ask the British or something myself, let me know in the chat. In fact, I'm just going to pop this out there, Britt, because I ain't got a lot more time left on me. It's been fun today. It's been nice to have you on. And they can't all be 3.5, 4 hour long monsters, Britisher. You know, sometimes
I very much agree. Yes, because yes, sooner or later you start running out of hours in the day, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think that especially you and I, we could sit here and ding dong, as you say, all day long. I'm probably for hours. If Cabbage Patch was here, we could do it for 4 days straight.
Yes,
but then there's other things that are being neglected at that point.
I did once sort of get trapped in his clutches.
Trapped.
Whereby it was just almost impossible to extricate myself from him. And I think it was basically somewhen around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning when finally I managed to say, no, really, I have to go now. And prior to that, it just went on. And given that, as I say, there was no excuse with it being transatlantic or whatever, because we are both in Britain.
Oh, yeah, no, he's just hardcore. I went to sleep one night listening to him, to Cabbage Patch Bastard and MCJK. And by the time, let's see, I think I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. I got up at 11 o'clock my time the next day. So let's see, that's +5. That's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Still, MCJK, if I'm not mistaken, they'll both proudly tell you, I think they had a 23-hour-long chinwag marathon.
Yeah, that sounds, with Cabbage Patch Bastard, that sounds well and truly possible, yes.
I can't wait till he comes back. He just texted me. And thanks for coming by, folks. So if Cass S, if it's about the I don't know how much time Britisher has, and I'm not pushing it off. I'm not afraid. I'm sure he's not. But what I want to do is I'd like to have you on and talk about the whole deal, because I've got questions. You heard what they were. I just don't know where you're coming from, and I want to get all the information. I think the two of you could. So anybody that just showed up, I think I got a new person here, Britisher. Who's this phone? Who that?
That's me.
Yeah, welcome. I'm the Ogre. How are you, and who are you?
Hi there. I'm pretty good. How are you?
Well, fine.
So we just want to know, like, I mean, you ain't got to like divulge who you are, like where you live or not, but could you tell us a little bit who you are?
My name is Nathan, and I live in Ottawa, Canada.
Welcome, sir. Why did you have a question for the Britisher?
No, really. I just happened to stumble upon the live chats and just looking for just a nice place just to chill, and yeah.
Oh, cool. So Cass, I don't care, man. The thing about the 50% not born in no, I'm not going to go there right now. How you doing, Cass S?
I'm doing good, but I honestly don't know what links you guys are reading. I really don't. I honestly can't send you any more. If you still can't see what we were talking about the other day, I don't know, man. You guys must be crazy at reading links. That's all I can say. Okay. You can't read an official census.
I have the Daily Mail here that says the United Nations of London map reveals the areas where 50% of the residents are born abroad, as capital's population hits a record 8.6 million. So if you dig deep into this, which I did, I read the whole thing, you'll find that it's not 50% of London, it's 50% of some areas of London.
I think it's something like 37% of London.
It's foreign born. Now, I'm not going to say, now ask me, Cass, if I think that 37% foreign born is a good thing, and I'll answer that. Which, in fact, this is between you and the British.
And I think the highlight, I think there is an estimate. There is an estimate that basically forecasts that something like, is it 2031 or 2032? They believe that the London population will be 50% born abroad.
Well, and you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, Britt. And everybody thought we were going to leave, but that's okay. If you've got
as of
20
now,
minutes or
I
so.
believe it is 50% of the it's over 50% of the population of London that is believed to be non-white.
Yeah, there's the one from the. I'll send you these 3 links if you want, British. Sure, you can look at them as you want. They're pretty easy to skim through, and I mean, I've looked at them, and it still goes. I'm still just saying that the only thing that I saw about 50% is non-white in London. And as far as that goes, I guess I'd ask you, Cass, would that matter if 50% were non-white, not necessarily foreign-born? He might have just left. He's pissed. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He'll be back, Britt. And I've got these 3. It would give you a chance also instead of just jumping right into that. All I'm going to say is that day, my good friend Cass popped in and he said that, that it was this way. And you did give me an article that said it was not that way. And so far, the ones that he sent me haven't showed me different. And I've read them. I'm going to be respectful to everybody and say, Cass, I've read them. So boom, he's back. I don't know, man. Give me 5 minutes, though, boys. If y'all are willing, Britisher, I'll give you this other one. And I don't know what you want to do about this. I would like to have you two at least have 40 minutes at another date to talk about this topic. But here you go. Here's the other one, Brett.
Did you hear about the Snapchat's breach of privacy recently?
Snapchat's breach of privacy. I'm not really familiar with Snapchat, so the answer to that would be no on my part.
So pretty much what's happened in recent news is that Snapchat enabled like this location feature in which users were notified about, and ultimately people who are more vulnerable were kind of like they were just more vulnerable now, especially like little girls, because they were well, you get my point. I'm not that familiar with the platform either, but it's something that I think we should talk about.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that Snapchat should be giving away any information. Those pictures are supposed to go way after.
I say Snapchat. That is that. Just so I can actually sort of catch up with the basic thing. Snapchat is where people can kind of send each other pictures, but they only stay there for a certain limited amount of time. Is that it?
That's correct.
Yep. If I took a picture right now, I could put a caption on it. I could be like, "Hey, Britt, I'm doing a live chat." I was doing it not too long ago while I was doing a live chat and Snapchat with a couple people I know. And then they get it, and I set the time. And at the end of that time, up to 15 seconds, well, you can set it for, I think now, infinite. But that's it. It's gone.
Well, I mean, in the internet world, nothing is really gone. It's
true.
So in what part of that does one think has been kind of, breached, if you know what I mean, when you say that they've got a security problem? So wherein lies the problem there?
Well, the breach in essence is pretty much the fact that Snapchat users weren't informed that there was this new location feature in which users could where you are pretty much, and it's proven to be a security breach potentially, because people's whereabouts, they're being monitored without their consent.
Okay. So I mean, how do we know how precise that location feature is? I mean,
yeah, that's also.
Is it a matter of sort of within a radius of 10 yards, or is it a matter of the wider neighborhood?
I'm actually not sure but from what I heard, it is quite precise. A friend of mine was actually at a local McDonald's, and a bunch of his friends apparently came into the restaurant, and he didn't know why until his friends told him the reason, which was all due to the Snapchat location feature thing.
Okay, so basically one thinks that people would be able to ascertain exactly where you live from a Snapchat picture.
That's right.
Wait, yeah, I actually just tried to fire up on Snapchat. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I watched the video, like you get like 3 little emails or something in it. And there was something about like a location feature where it'll take you a little emoji guy and stick him on a map somewhere. I didn't pay any attention to it. I was trying to swipe through it to get to the actual app. But now that you say that, it kind of is like ringing a bell. Like they showed that in one of the little snaps that Snapchat starts you off with. Like,
Well, if you don't have all your location services turned off on your smartphone, in my opinion, you're crazy. I don't have any location service. When I look up a map, it's like turn on location services to continue. I just push no, and you can still go to the map anyway. And I know how to read a map, so I don't need to have a little thing that shows my GPS because I don't want my GPS. I actually, this is what I do, folks. I carry this in a little thing called a Faraday bag, so I can feel it vibrate, take it out if I want to. But I usually choose not to because even if with the location services turned off, you don't need Snapchat for this, folks. They know where the fuck you're at if you got a smartphone in your pocket. They can recreate your day to the within a yard, I want to say. So
yeah, that's all very interesting. I don't want to like switch gears unless you want to go to something else, but
I don't give a shit. I really don't care about Snapchat, man. Every time you do something like that, read the terms of services. If you got 2 days, man, they can track you. What you got? Review the Earth. I ain't got a lot of time. I can't believe the British are still here.
All right. So speaking of technology interference kind of stuff, you guys know who Michael Hastings is?
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I don't.
He's a reporter that was for the Rolling Stones who was over in Afghanistan and stuff, and that's where Joe Biggs. He was buddies with Joe Biggs, and
Yeah, I know.
He
I've
was
seen him
in-
on InfoWars now. You mentioned, I believe.
well, Joe Biggs was on InfoWars. Hastings never was. Hastings, I guess, wouldn't have lived long enough or whatnot. He ended up dying in this like fiery car crash where a BMW, or he had a brand new BMW. And it crashed in California and died, like burned up really bad. His car exploded, all that stuff.
Did you work
And
for BuzzFeed?
What's that?
Did you work for BuzzFeed at one point?
He may have. I know that he quit the Rolling Stones and was doing his own media operation. He was doing a report on the deep state when he died, and he was texting people that he was close with, like him being followed. Hey, blah blah blah. I'm really worried.
Oh yeah.
And all this stuff, right? So then he dies in this horrible car accident, and they're saying like that the BMW had this technology that could have been hacked or whatever.
Yeah, and he did work for BuzzFeed, but now it's all ringing a bell. It's flooding back. Yeah, and it was very much like Breitbart, man, like Andrew Breitbart.
Very similar, and it was at a similar time, and even maybe a connected story with Breitbart. But anyways, his old lady did not know this. She's some kind of now MSNBC commentator. At the time, she was tampering down all the conspiracy theory stories. Like, no, that's not going on. No, that's not. That never happened. Blah blah blah. Like, Biggs said he was really creeped out by her at the time and just never spoke of it again. Because I remember it all going down at the time. But she's now some kind of MSNBC correspondent and or a commentator, if you will, and is on there and saying that she was the one who just made the suicide bomber comment about Trump, which was very, very disturbing, weird. Just like if you look at her face and like while she's talking, it's just really creepy. But she's talking about, like anybody who's that close to President Trump is this, you're wearing a suicide bomb, like it was really crazy that she'd use that kind of language after
Kind of disturbing.
he died in a fiery car wreck. That under weird circumstances, it's just very creepy. I don't know. That creeped me out the other day. Technology and hacking and stuff.
Man, technology these days makes like we can use it for good, and there's also people who do it for financial gain and stuff like that. It just makes us really think.
I guess that kind of surveillance could be used for good, but nothing's striking me that could be good from it. I would just say that if George Orwell, I've said this before on this channel, I'm gonna say it again. If George Orwell had any idea, man, that what he was envisioning with the television, the we're surveilling ourselves. You go to I've got a Facebook,
no one, even the British don't have it. No one has it. Like 4 or 5 very, very, very close family members that I can't get a hold of any other way have it. Anyway, it's a joke. I go on there and it's trying to connect me to other people that know these 5 folks. And man, it's like, oh, I just got done eating a bagel. I think we're going to go have a poo. And oh, I just had a poo. I'm washing my hands and now I'm leaving this. And I mean, they're like have a running log of their day. And I guess that freedom is just lost on some people. The idea of anonymity and freedom just lost on some folks. Wow. Well, that's it.
BMW is over. I'm going to get going, but it was great listening to the conversation and contributing.
Swing by anytime. Matter of fact, I got itchy feet because apparently Sargon of Akkad is on Joe Rogan's show. A viewer told me that in the chat, and I didn't even mind. I think the finer print let me know. So I might watch that in a minute or two. I'm just, as usual, I'm trying to outlast the British.
I wonder what they're going to talk about.
Oh,
Probably the guy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, we actually jawed about that a little bit today, Brett. Do you watch Joe Rogan?
I don't really follow him to any great degree. I've seen some things. I've seen some programs of his, but I don't sort of, as a matter of course, sort of watch him. But if Sargon of Akkad is more than likely talking about his Anita Sarkeesian trauma.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready to go see it. And then when Bravo's on too, another guy comes on, this flat earther that's freaking out of his mind. Alex Jones was on not too long ago. I don't really follow him either, but he does.
You have to understand that no doubt, Sargon will be telling him that he's got post-traumatic stress disorder now that he's been bullied.
I got to go see this, man. I'm done being tickled. Look, folks, this is the end. You got any last words here, Britisher? Any last thing you want to say? Was I too harsh about the whole Donald Trump thing? I hope I wasn't, mate. I just had to get my opinion out there a little bit.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're just wrong, but you're fine.
Well, I can always count on you to tell me when I'm wrong, sir. I do have that to fall back on, and I appreciate it too, sir. I just think that you should open your eyes a little bit and see that sometimes the follower can also lead.
I think what you're telling me is that I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Review the Earth. Cass says, thanks so much. Cass, what's that, Britt? Because this is it. I'm wrapping her up.
No, that's all for me.
Man, thanks so much, Britisher. I hope to see you Wednesday. You know, I appreciate it when you come by. It's just so nice to have what I consider my co-host and co-creator on this channel. A lot of the stuff that you don't realize is going on. You know, he came up with a thumbnail. He helps me a lot. And I would say as far as creativity on the look of the channel, he's pretty much the producer on that deal. He's created my intros for me whenever I do my videos. And of course, having the Britisher here is always fun. I would think that we could all agree that we are exact opposites. So we at least offer you that. So thanks a lot, Brett. Thanks a lot, Review the Earth, Cass S. Trying to think of who else was here earlier. A lot of folks came and went. Appreciate everybody that showed up. Wherever you're at, remember, there's always somebody out there that's worse off than you are. That person could be your president. It could be Donald Trump. I mean, do you deal with this kind of harassment? Anita Sarkeesian wants to talk about harassment. And Sargon of Akkad, big bad Sargon's making a walloping $5,000 a month. I mean, my goodness, does anybody realize that you can barely feed a family if you live in a city in England and make that kind of money? That's not a whole lot. That's American dollars, man. To go with a pound, that's like 23 pounds. It might be a little bit more than that. But it doesn't matter where you're at, you know, you could always be worse off. And that worse off person could be Sargon of Akkad. It could be Donald Trump. When you feel like someone is in a position where they couldn't be hurt emotionally, well, maybe you need to stop and take a look at yourself. I'm not agreeing with Miss Sarkeesian. Hey, man, let's all go out there and be shitlords and do our thing. Let's make the tweets we want to make. Let's say what we want to say. Let's have the videos we want to make. Let's do this new thing. Let's continue this revolution. Let's get our news from the Britisher and from Sargon of Akkad. I mean, gracious sakes, what better source? You're going to believe the MSM? So without rambling, folks, listen. Remember to be good to folks that don't seem like they need to be good to, because those are the ones that need it the most. They're the ones getting heaped upon. And God save us, it's not Anita Sarkeesian. It might be Sargon. So swing by there sometime today and send him a little tweet, man. Tell him, hey, Sargon, you're not a garbage human being. I see that you adopted the name, but you're actually a pretty decent fella, and you handled yourself as a gentleman. I have to say that as an American. He came over here and he didn't cause a ruckus. So look, folks, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewer, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and Sargon of Akkad himself will depart from you. Hey, Sydney, I still won't forget about you, man. Well, maybe one day, but it'll take me a while. Later.